Σεβαστοί καθηγητές, σεβαστοί πατέρες, κυρίες και κύριοι.
Your Excellencies, dear professors, dear fathers, is transhumanism a type of religion? Is it a political movement? Is it understood as a narrative that promises immortality? Is Silicon Valley the central, let's say, vehicle to shape this ideology, the new Jerusalem? I will try to explore these questions. We have these problems that theology has never encountered so far. But before analyzing the word transhumanism, we should understand theological anthropology and see what it means. Posthuman is a fundamental concept that describes a set of approaches and philosophical movements that focus on redefining the importance of being a human being. These movements, focus on the examination of relations between technology and human beings. Before talking about the content of the concept, the movement I will focus on, it's important to clarify and distinguish between terms that are often confused, because these terms are used alternatively in the international literature, but there are some terms that have been translated wrongly. Transhumanism is the anthropismos and posthumanism metanthropismos. Transhumanism focuses on the idea of human upgrading and the improvement of human life. Concepts such as rationalism, autonomy, and progress are considered fundamental on the agenda of humanity. So, as a movement, it has roots in humanism. It emerged during the Enlightenment. It underlines the importance and the superiority of people over other forms of life. Therefore, people can be categorized, creatures can be categorized according to their species, race, and sex. Many researchers believe that due to this hierarchical understanding of the world, we highlight secessionism, racism, and sexism. On the other hand, posthumanism cannot be seen as a movement, does not coincide with transhumanism, but judges its positions. It rules out any kind of anthropocentrism, proposes an anthropology that accepts the difference. The main focus is to review the ideas of humanity. Anti-humanism has moved in the same vein. It criticizes transhumanism because it decreases the idea that humans are at the center of meaning, values, and purpose. So it leaves space to non-human entities, such as those of artificial intelligence and humanoid robots. And anti-humanism is ready to embrace them. What is transhumanism? We have clarified the difference between transhumanism and posthumanism. What is the philosophical movement of transhumanism? It's widely seen as a philosophical movement and a school of thought claiming that technology can enable the human species to overcome the inherent limits of its nature. It promises to release the human species from its biological restrictions, i.e., diseases, old age, and ultimately death. Moreover, in addition to the therapeutic proposals that may lead to longer lives, the movement of transhumanism is looking for ways to correct people's physical and mental functions and ultimately upgrade their abilities. The objectives define the content of the movement. In Oxford dictionaries, it's defined as the belief or theory that claims that humanity can evolve by going beyond its biological and mental limits through science and technology. It seems that it perceives the future of humanity in a very optimistic way about people's development or mutation, let's say. Both Nick Bostrom and Max Moore, who are there to support transhumanism, support the Darwin's theory of species evolution. But it's changed. So it emerges and envisages a radical modification of human nature. At all stages of development, humans use technical means, such as tools that improve the way they interact with the environment. Following the Industrial Revolution, the use of technical means and machines was more pronounced than in the previous stages of human culture. Now that we are experiencing the fourth Industrial Revolution, the digital age, these technical means have started to be seen in some way as part of our physical existence. Smartphones are, for example, an extension of our mind. These devices contain crucial information about our existence and the way we use them and communicate with other people. So, transhumanism merely aims to improve human health and mental skills and uses to this goal cutting-edge technologies, nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive scientists, and what is called human genetic enhancement. These offer impressive possibilities and prospects for upgrading human nature. On the other hand, the extreme transhumanism version 6 not to improve the human biological body, but to eradicate it. What does this mean? The biological body is responsible for the weaknesses of human nature, such as illness, corruption, and death. So what could we do for that? According to some humanists, we can look for ways to overcome death. Death is the largest enemy of transhumanism. So a scenario that promises a form of immortality is the so-called whole brain emulation or mind uploading. This scenario consists of 3 steps: the mapping of the human brain after creating a representation of the scanned information, and finally a transfer into a computer. According to transhumanists, through this scenario we could defeat death and achieve digital immortality. It is worth mentioning that an entire industry has been created called the digital afterlife industry, and is trying in various ways to sell to people eternal immortality. Eternine uses artificial intelligence to create what they call a digital counterpart of human persons from the data they collect from the users, and the equivalent may exist digitally after the person's death. So the agenda of transhumanism inspires a kind of philosophical anthropology, a vision of what is a human being, or more specifically how it is perceived. So humans are defective, weak, and imperfect according to transhumanism. This understanding is the foundation of transhumanism, the starting point, and it proposes several corrections and upgrades for that. It is similar to the Christian view of a downward nature. Christianity and transhumanism claim that the ontological situation of humans presents a problem that requires a solution and response. It is understandable that the solutions proposed are different in nature. Transhumanism proposes technology which envisages a transition from the Homo sapiens to Homo cyberneticus or technologicus. This transition marks an overall upgrade of the human's ontological status. Ronald Colterner claims that transhumanism is a Christian idea, and more specifically a decorative version of ideological perception of positioning. Turner says that the term describes a transcultural experience of a union with the reality. As a result, it is understood that both conceptual and linguistic transhumanism is based on theological and positioning ideas. These points converge in Christianity and transhumanism. However, the fundamental difference lies in how the treatment and placement of the human substance is achieved. When transhumanism promotes cutting-edge technology, theology proposes an ontological relationship with reality of God and the grace of God. So I argue personally that moderate transhumanism shows different anthropological viewpoints compared to extreme transhumanism. In particular, the moderate version considers the biological body to be defective, but at the same time an integral part of human identity. So it aims to improve it. extreme transhumanism imagines a complete separation from the limitations of the physical nature of humans. And in this way, our psyche, our personality has to be transferred from the biological body to a technological means. So, our self is intrinsically linked with the other soul. Our body is a bag of chemicals. This view could be approached as a Neoplatonic concept of substance, of this duality. This view can be approached in this way, but human eschatology shows that the body will be restored. The body will be radically transformed. Our body will be deified, will be upgraded through God. Now, some concluding considerations. My suggestions were a short tour of the ever-changing landscape of transhumanism. Theology, technology, and science meet with a common denominator: to understand and enhance human nature. However, throughout human history, theology has been confronted with issues having to do with the Homo sapiens. For the first time in history, it seems that humans may soon be able to interfere with their nature to such an extent that people who are not fully biological but hybrid, the so-called Homo cyberneticals, will emerge. Are we ready for this? I personally believe that we're not. We need to reflect on our anthropological concepts, not to change them. We need to understand what they mean, especially in humanistic studies. I think we should contribute to public dialogue, public discourse as theologians. We have to discuss some terms, soul and spirit. What do we mean? Is it the same thing? If it is the same thing, why do we use two different terms? If they are different, how do we find their content in order to distinguish their reality? Someone might wonder why we need to go into such an endeavor. The reason is very simple. In the modern debate on technology and anthropology, we meet terms such as intelligence, conscience, body, among others, and the self. So we need an intelligence theology, quote unquote, a conscience theology, quote unquote, and so on, so that we can interact with each other and understand what we mean as theologians, and then interact with scientists in other disciplines. In other words, we need a coordinated effort to contribute and intervene on these issues, having a strong theological proposal that will affect what is happening. Thank you very much.